The intake log contains one line that does not match the recording. Caller unable to provide last contact time. The recording exists. It runs 4 minutes and 12 seconds. In it, the caller states the last contact time twice, once at the 1-minute mark, once again near the end, when the dispatcher asks her to repeat it. The recording was logged into evidence. It was never transcribed into the file. This is the record. What follows is what it left out. The file lists 2 subjects. Subject 1. Female, 34, transient, last known address unconfirmed. Subject 2. Male, 9, dependent of Subject 1, same address designation. 2 lines. 2 case numbers. No photographs attached in the initial filing, those would be added later, pulled from a school enrollment form and a pharmacy loyalty account, the only 2 institutions that had recent images on file. The mother kept a grocery list in the left pocket of her coat, rewritten every Sunday night in the same handwriting. The same order: bread, eggs, the boys' cereal, always last. The coat was recovered. The list was in it. It is itemized in the evidence log as miscellaneous paper, illegible. It was legible. No one read it as anything other than paper. The boy could not sleep without a nightlight shaped like a whale. It plugs into the wall beside his bed. When officers entered the apartment on day 1, the nightlight was on. It is noted in the scene report as electrical device, active, no significance noted. There is no further mention of it in the file. 2 people. 34 words used to describe them in the official record. The rest of who they were does not appear anywhere the investigation kept. 6:42 p.m. A gas station 3 blocks from the apartment. The mother's card is used for $14.06, gas, and a pack of gum. The receipt itemizes both. The security camera places her at the pump for 90 seconds. The boy is visible in the passenger seat the entire time. 7:58 p.m. A neighbor's doorbell camera, motion activated, captures 11 seconds of footage from across the street. A figure matching the mother's height and build crosses the frame from left to right. The boy is not visible in this frame. He is not visible in any frame after 6:42. 8:31 p.m. An outgoing call from the mother's phone. 14 seconds. No voicemail recorded. The recipient does not answer. The recipient is the boy's aunt. The aunt calls back. Then again. Then a third time 20 minutes later. None of these 3 calls appear in the timeline the precinct later constructs. The timeline the precinct constructs ends at 8:31 p.m. with the notation, last confirmed contact, caller did not return. She was calling. The record does not say so, because the record was built without her calls in it. 11:50 p.m. The aunt calls the precinct. The call is logged. Duration: 6 minutes, 11 seconds. The disposition code entered is 4-1. Concern expressed: non-urgent. Advised to monitor situation for 24 hours. What the recording of that call contains. The aunt states that the mother always answers within minutes, that the boy has a school day in the morning, that she has been trying to reach them since 8:30, and that something is wrong. She says this last part 3 times. The disposition code does not reflect any of it. The disposition code reflects a category, applied by an officer working a shift that began 9 hours earlier, for calls before this 1 and 6 after. 6 a.m. The aunt calls again. This call does not appear in the system. There is no recording. There is no disposition code. There is no entry of any kind. The only record of this call's existence is a note in the aunt's own phone. An outgoing call, 6 minutes and 2 seconds, to the precinct's non-emergency line at 6:04 a.m. The first institutional failure is this. A missing persons report was not entered into the statewide database until 4:51 p.m. the following day, 41 hours after the first call. The window during which an Amber Alert designation would automatically apply for a minor under 10 had closed 19 hours earlier. No one filed the report late on purpose. No one filed it on time either. Between the first call and the database entry, the file passed through 4 desks. At each one, it was marked pending additional verification. No one specified what verification was required, or from whom. Day 3. A K-9 unit and 11 officers are deployed to a wooded area behind the apartment complex. The search grid map, filed as Exhibit 9, shows a search radius extending approximately 200 meters east of the building. The grid's eastern boundary is a drainage culvert that runs beneath an access road. The grid stops there. On day 1, before the report was even entered into the database, the aunt told the responding officer that the boy always went to the culvert to look for frogs. This is recorded. It appears in the responding officer's handwritten notes, page 2, third line. It was never entered into the search planning documentation. The search planning documentation was prepared by a different officer who did not have access to the handwritten notes because the handwritten notes had not yet been filed. The culvert was searched on day 9. It was searched because a resident, walking a dog, reported an odor near the access road. The search team that responded on day 9 consisted of 2 officers. The search team that covered the same 200-meter radius on day 3 consisted of 11. 11 days. 6 of them after the detail that mattered was already on paper, in a building the investigators worked in every day. The aunt's full statement was given on day 2. It was transcribed on day 7. 5 days separate the giving of it from the reading of it. The statement contains 4 specific details. The first is the culvert already noted. The second, a gray sedan, parked on the street outside the apartment for 3 consecutive evenings before the disappearance, that the aunt says did not belong to any resident she recognized. The third, the mother's evening walking route, which the aunt describes as unchanging, the same 4 blocks, the same direction, every night for at least 2 years. The fourth, a torn piece of fabric, gray-blue, that the aunt had seen caught on a branch near the tree line 2 days before she made her first call to the precinct. 2 days before anyone official knew anything was wrong. Each of these 4 details was later matched against physical evidence recovered during the investigation. The culvert confirmed. The walking route confirmed by the gas station receipt and the doorbell footage, both of which sit on the route the aunt described. The torn fabric, recovered from the same tree line, identified as a piece of the boy's jacket, consistent with a tear pattern documented in the final forensic report. The gray sedan, partially confirmed. A vehicle matching the description was captured on a traffic camera 2 intersections away at 8:46 p.m., 15 minutes after the last outgoing call. For details, for confirmations, the statement containing them was filed as evidence on day 7. The search grid was finalized on day 3. No amendment to the search grid was filed after day 7. The 2 documents existed in the same case file, for days apart, and were never read together. The decision chain reconstructs as follows. The intake officer who took the 11:50 p.m. call on day 1 had access to a recording in which a family member stated, 3 times, that something was wrong. The disposition code applied 4-to-1, non-urgent, did not require the officer to listen to the recording again. It required only a category. The category was selected in under 2 minutes. The desk sergeant who held the report for verification on day 2 had access to the gas station receipt, already pulled by a records clerk at the family's request, and to the aunt's statement, given that morning but not yet transcribed. The sergeant's log entry reads, awaiting additional family contact info before entry. The aunt's contact information was on the original 11:50 p.m. call record, 19 hours earlier. The detective assigned on day 3 had access to the aunt's handwritten statement, the culvert detail included, before the search grid was finalized that afternoon. The detective's case notes from day 3 do not reference the culvert. They reference the wooded area generally, and the decision to concentrate search efforts within a manageable perimeter given resource constraints. 3 points of contact. 3 moments where information already on file could have altered what happened next. At each point, the information existed. At each point, the person with access to it did not connect it to the decision they were making. No single decision, viewed alone, reads as a failure. Read together against a timeline, they form one. The remains were recovered at the culvert on day 11, during the search prompted by the resident's report. The forensic timeline established afterward places the time of death within several hours of the final outgoing call on day 1, between approximately 8:31 p.m. and midnight. Measured against this timeline, The aunt's statement, given on day 2, before any of this had been confirmed, holds up to roughly 90% accuracy. The culvert location, correct. The walking route, which placed the victim's last confirmed movements, correct. The torn fabric and its location, correct. The only detail not fully resolved is the gray sedan, partially corroborated but never definitively connected to a suspect or vehicle owner. The first 48 hours end at 8:31 p.m. on day 3. The culvert was 200 meters from a search team of 11 officers, working from a grid that did not include it, holding a statement that named it, for days before anyone read that statement. Day 11 is 8 days past that window. An internal review of the response was conducted. Its findings were not released publicly. A records request filed 18 months later returned the review's existence, its date range, and its conclusion. Areas for procedural improvement identified. No individual misconduct substantiated. One disciplinary action appears in personnel records connected to the case. A written reprimand issued to the desk sergeant for the day 2 delay in report entry. The reprimand was expunged from the sergeant's file 18 months later, per the terms of the relevant union agreement, the standard period for a first-instance procedural reprimand. The aunt's statement appears in the final case file as Exhibit 14B. It is not referenced in the official summary of findings, which describes the recovery as resulting from a community tip received on day 11. The case is closed. This classification reads, closed, cleared by exceptional means. The exhibit list, including 14B, is sealed pending formal records request. The aunt relocated within the year. When investigators from the internal review attempted to contact her for a follow-up statement, she declined, in writing. The official record's final line on the response timeline reads, no further action required. The aunt's statement, given on day 2, ends with this line, I told them where to look. 11 days separate those two lines. 200 meters separate the search grid from the culvert. 4 days separate a statement from the moment anyone read it. This has been a reconstruction drawn from the documents that survived. If you have information related to this case, contact your local authorities or Crime Stoppers. The record is not finished. It is only closed.